Welcome to New Realities. My name is Alan Steinfeld, and each week I try to bring guests on that talk about the realm of consciousness, the way we expand what we conceive of as the reality that we know, and how limited most people have conditioned their lives to be. I'm talking today to someone who's expanded outside of the traditional means that we've accepted here in the West, and have explored a whole new realm of possibilities. He's actually one of the first Westerners to bring back to this country the whole idea of Eastern thought, the ways the ancient Hindus have thought of the world, and how we are part of the flow of time and space and forever. His name is Bhagavan, and he's here with Uma, his wife, and they're both great performers and singers and people who are dedicated to the worship of the divine. He's written a book called It's Here Now. Thank you. He's written this book called It's Here Now, and Bhagavan Das was the person who introduced Ram Das to his guru. And in this book, I feel this book is a part of the spiritual literature that has started with Yogananda's autobiography of a yogi, and it's like, Bhagavan, if you have just picked up that thread. So thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you, Uma.
Thank you.
In this book, you have so many incredible experiences. And can you just talk about, and as you mentioned in the book, what it was about growing up in America that drove you to seek the company of the teachers in the West? What was it that inspired you to leave this country and go to India?
Well, what inspired me was many things, and a series of things. But growing up here, I became very disillusioned with America, and I was watching the country becoming rapidly, when I mean country, I mean Mother Nature being rapidly destroyed around where I lived, and trees were being cut, and huge tracts of suburban houses were being put up, and they were all the same, and all the people seemed to be the same, and I always felt like I was in prison when I was in high school. I felt like I would go to my prison every day, and there's all these cells, and it didn't really feel right to me. I wanted to be free and to spend more time in the ocean and at the beach, which I did as much as I could. And then I started reading a lot of poetry and was very inspired by Allen Ginsberg. And I started folk singing and was worshipped Joan Baez and Bob Dylan in those days, and spent a lot of time being around them, and going out to just be in the presence of them. And so there was the presence of some otherworldly mystical consciousness that I was seeking, and then Kennedy was shot and the Vietnam War was starting in 1963, and I wanted to get out as quick as I could. I felt something was coming down in America, and I didn't want to really be part of the 60s here.
Right.
And so I left and began my search to find the Holy Grail.
And you found it, actually.
I did. I found it.
That's,
and my guru, Neem Karoli Baba.
When you write about Neem Karoli Baba in this book, there's so much love that comes through.
Well, that's the Holy Grail.
When you say
the love. It's the real love. That's what we're all searching for.
Yeah, I mean, that's when you find a real guru, you're saying.
Yes,
is
the guru is the love.
And how do you distinguish a real guru from these other teachers that you've met in your travels? You met a lot of teachers, but what was it about Neem Karoli?
It's the, I don't know how to say it. It's so, it's a very personal thing with you, and you know it when it happens.
You feel it.
You feel it
Yeah.
deeply, and you feel it, you just know it. Something happens with you. It's the deepest love connection of your life, much deeper than any romantic love, much deeper than your mother or your father, and deeper than any sexual experience and any falling in love type experience. It's another dimension to love. It's just like my Guru Neem Karoli Baba was like a fountain of pure love, just constantly around him. It was flowing out from him all the time to everything and everyone.
You know, when I read the parts in the book, it feels like he's still very present. He's still coming through when you write about him. It's such a beautiful presence.
Well, he's alive. There's no death. There's no death. The body dies, but the love and the spirit of that soul carries forth in me. I mean, in me, in the sense, because I'm thinking about him all the time.
You do?
Yeah, and everyone is projecting on me the Bhagavan Das image. And so the Bhagavan Das image carries Neem Karoli Baba in its projection. So everyone who thinks of me, sees me, picks up Neem Karoli Baba.
You know,
Like tuning in to his vibration.
It's like you were such a warrior for knowledge. And it's your exploration of India, in a sense, turned on this whole Western civilization, because you brought Ram Dass to Neem Karoli Baba, and from Ram Dass there was this explosion of spiritual pursuits in this country. So, in a way, you led the path for this to happen in the West.
Well, I led the path by not leading the path. I didn't know what I was doing. I was only doing exactly what I liked to do and what felt right to me in the moment, and there was nothing else happening. So in a certain sense, it was total selfishness. It was totally just being myself wherever I was and going with the flow of energy in the moment, completely.
So you came from this idea of like wanting to get away from the West, but what was it that really transformed you into kind of a sadhu when you?
Well, the experience of India, seeing the death and destruction up close. I'd never really seen people dying all around me, and I'm sitting in front of corpses and watching them burn, and all the skin come off and the hair sizzle up, and then there you're staring at a skeleton, which was once a person, and you're sitting like 5 feet away. It was quite a traumatic experience for an 18-year-old American teenager. And being around, you know, the most poorest people on earth that you have ever seen with nothing, and comparing it to the culture that we live in.
But what changed in the way you thought? I mean, inside, how did you, one day you were looking at the world one way, and then I guess over time you started to look at it a different way. What was it that you saw differently about the world? I mean, how
well,
you viewed yourself?
I saw that the world was all my desire. That my desire was the world. There was no world except what I felt and thought. And that I wanted to live, I started to live in another world which was in this world. And it was simply by hanging out with saintly beings that this happened to me. Because it rubs off on you. Satsang is association with the wise. And the wise are people who take themselves lightly, and they don't, they're basically focused on God. And so by focusing on God, the world loses its focus.
Yeah.
And then by hanging out with them, you take on the qualities of the people you hang out with. So your company is everything.
In the book, there's so much internal conflict that you talk about, and reading the book, I really experienced the